Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's show. So, we have the Galactic show here for Mason Jupiter, and I have my beautiful friend Carrie Ann. And usually, you would be over in Vanuatu, but you're back in Australia for a little bit, which is nice to have you back home.
Yes. So good to be here with you on a new show too.
Yeah, this is exciting and such a gorgeous soul-based audience. So I really felt that you weave both worlds together of the soulful, mindful side, as well as we're doing a lot with health and things at the moment. But you also have the galactic side too. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I just want to say thank you to our audience for joining as well. I can see a lot of beautiful, familiar faces, and happy solstice to everyone too. I'm sure most people are having a warmer solstice than what you and I are, Carrie.
We're all rubbed up.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pop up a few little screens first before we get into chatting about what you do as well, which would be really good for everyone to see. So we do have the 25% off with the Glow Up code at the moment for a holistic wellness session with me. So this is a new service that we're offering here on Mason Jupiter. It's not something that I've just started. It's something I've been doing for over 25 years. Just like Carrie, we've both got a background in natural medicine and health and psychology and things. So yeah, we thought it was time to package this together to really help everyone get through the rest of 2024, because it has been a big year already. Can't believe we're almost in July. And we also have on the Mason Jupiter website, you can see that my Soul Bowls and Smoothie Book is now available. So we do have a discount code for that, using the code GLOWUP for all products at the moment to do with the health side of things. This does expire on the 7th of July. So you've got a little bit more time, but some of my favorite recipes I've put in there. And please remember to hit that like and thumbs up for Mason Jupiter's YouTube, or if you're over on Rumble. And our channel is slowly growing, which is so exciting to see. And we have the 7-day smoothie challenge, which I know you're into smoothies as well, Carrie. So yeah, if you want to join us for the smoothie challenge, it is a free challenge, and we're all going to try and do at least one smoothie a day. So that's an exciting thing that we have happening. And just check. Yep, we've showed all of these. Okay. So I just want to go into your website and give people a proper introduction to your work. So we can see here, this is myhealthyoga.com, and I'm just going to read a little bit about. So Carrie Ann Fields is the founder of My Health, a multi-limbed organization including yoga and health academies in Australia, Italy, and online wellness centers. So My Health TV and My Health Association, My Health Lightworkers Lounge podcast, and the My Health Primary School in Cambodia, which is very exciting, and a charity initiative to protect children in known predator areas. She has 2 series called Transcending the Matrix on David Icke's UK family media platform, Iconic. And I just got goosebumps, so I can't wait to hear what you've been doing with that too. So Carrie has worked full-time as a psychologist, a yoga teacher, and spiritual healer since 1998. Her courses have been translated into languages, and she has thousands of graduates all over the world who have gone on to develop their healing centers. And you can see here, you've got a lot more here. And here's you in a beautiful yoga pose. And I love the background. Is this from your new place, the photos?
It actually isn't, but it looks like it, doesn't it? And there's
It
my
really
beautiful
does.
my mum and Chris, my partner, everyone. It's like a big family.
Yeah, and speaking of the guys and your mom too, you can see their photos on here. So the beautiful Chris and Gregory, who I met the 3 of you when we were at Uluru in 2020, and I had Stephen and Evan Strong on last week as well. So everyone's been catching up on what was happening in Uluru. Let me just pop this little screen down. So I did pick us a card before we started as well, which is one of the Tony Carmine Salerno cards. And it says, you are entering a deeply emotional time in which you ponder the deeper spiritual questions of life. This is a time of self-discovery that deepens your connection to Mother Earth, your friends and family, and times and emotions may fly, but this is a good thing. For these precious moments bring a great gift of healing. And we were just talking quickly before coming on screen today about your experiences now living in Vanuatu. And I think it perfectly ties in with the galactic topic. And I just saw something fly past.
Yeah, what was that? Yet a bird. Because the avians have been
I'm not
around
sure
for
if
some
that
time,
was
and then
yeah.
some, some get bored.
Yeah, the beautiful people watching are always pointing out fairies and things. So yeah, someone's done a little
Wow.
fairy emoji. There must have been something fly past. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we were just about to talk about the 70 aspect of living in Vanuatu. Can you share a little bit about what you feel is happening, not just galactically, and also a little bit about your galactic background? I'm sure the audience would love to hear as well.
Yeah, well, like you, Solreta, I was born psychic, so always lived in parallel realms, and I feel like if you've got a great imagination, anyone can live in those realms. It's all about having the enchanted childlike spirit and keeping that with you all the way through adulthood. I mean, I'm nearly 50 now, and it's still such a big part of my life, and it'll never go away. As long as we can ground ourselves here, because some people do use it for escapism. If you can stay grounded and keep yourself connected to all of the fairies, of the telluric realm, but all the way through to maybe Pegasus from Andromeda, all of these deities or perhaps mythology studies that we've done that keep us in that enchanted spirit, then I feel like we can stay galactic. And it's just beautiful, because it means that whilst we're having some 3D battles here, and particularly what's been going on since 2020, with a battle for our own sovereignty, it helps us to simultaneously stay in the enchanted space and to be a powerful manifester. Because when you go into the quantum realms, as you know, Solreta, and you change things in the unseen realms, you can really manifest in the seen realms like that. And I mean like that. So speaking of Vanuatu, I decided I didn't want to be part of the Australian governmental systems anymore. I said, no, after 2020, I said, that's it, I'm out. And I went over to Vanuatu, and I wrote in a journal one day a property that I would like to have, exactly what it looked like, got a picture off the internet, just of a girl sitting on a beach, the whole thing. Within 1 week, I kid you not, within 1 week, I had manifested it. And it even blew me away. Saw it. I'm like, okay, we're still living in
Wow.
magic, as our Indigenous teachers. We're still living in magic. We don't have to forget that, despite some of the chaos, of course, life will go up and down. It's meant to. That's part of the journey here and part of the polarity realm that we're living in here. So we make peace with that. And so I moved to a very remote part of Vanuatu, and it's just been truly amazing to live with the Indigenous people, to realise how far down the materialistic timeline many of the Western worlds have gone into. And I'm not judging that as right or wrong, but I do see the contrast, and I do value the people that can live without electricity. We see the fires go up every day about 4:30 p.m. They're cooking on fire. They're really at one with the elements and the elementals. Speaking of the fairies,
Yeah.
they talk to spirits. Some of them are getting a little bit more westernized if they're in the main towns, but the ones who are in remote areas, they talk to spirits. They're very connected. They've taught me so much. They eat, you would love it, Solreta, because they're eating just fruit off the trees all day long and growing their own vegetables, and everyone's a great gardener. Everyone. You have to be to survive there. You don't actually need money to survive there and live a fruitful life, but live an abundant, fruitful life. So yeah, they're the sweetest, kindest people on earth. And I've been finding, Solreta, that when I'm there, and I've had some times there completely alone, and I do a lot of meditation, I've actually sort of startled myself a bit how high that I've become. And I feel like I'm accessing a very kind of natural 7D goddess kind of frequency. As blissful as it sounds, and it is, I've scared myself a couple of times, because I've gone so high. I had to ring Mum and say, oh, Mum, I'm actually freaking out. She's like, it's okay. It's okay. She's an intuitive healer as well. She said, you can explore these realms of consciousness. It's all right. You'll come back. Just ground yourself again. So I've had a pretty rough couple of years. I've been slandered publicly so badly that I've gone through this huge life initiation. I didn't realize that people in the so-called spiritual truther arena could be so nasty. And so I've been hung out to dry, called all sorts of ridiculous names, said I was deep state and all these other crazy things that have been said about me. And it's kind of this balance. I've been going to Vanuatu and grounding and connecting and seeing that doesn't really matter. Your reputation doesn't matter. You know, I'm having a whole destruction of my ego. So yeah, it's been powerful, absolutely powerful. But I
Yeah.
will say, to tie in with today's show, recently, myself and many other people were working through the Lemurian energies, and we feel that a heart portal, really has activated in Lemuria, or in Oceania, we'd call it in a modern sense. And I can see there's this Andromedan galactic frequency or timeline that's coming in for those like yourself, Solreta, and your audience here, who really have been doing a lot of the work for the last few years, maybe longer than the last few years, to anchor the peace and love codes here, and almost feel like there's a trifurcation going on. We've been talking about the bifurcation, where the good humans are moving into a more ascended frequency bandwidth. We might call that 5D consciousness. Mother Earth herself as that celestial body going to that dimensional frequency at the end of this galactic cycle. You've got some people who are playing out the narcissism, and we're seeing that, like the real pandemic here on Earth, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
It's narcissism.
So true.
Yeah, and me having this direct experience of that as well. So I'm seeing that play out, but then I saw this Andromedan timeline come in, and I would say for the volunteers, if you like, that came to help Earth ascend, I would say that they're getting a very monumental upgrade. It's an intergalactic upgrade that's going on. So a lot of codes are coming in on that level. And hey, it's the Galactic show, so we can really go out there and talk about these things.
And that's what I was so excited to have you on, because like we can really get deep in the woo. And I was wondering, you know, if something strange was going to pop up, because usually there'll be a dream or there'll be something come up before we do a show together. And just like clockwork, last night I had a really bizarre dream, and it was just, I'm like, I have to ask you about this topic and if you've had some interaction. And I also think like with the stuff that's happened publicly, I don't think that would have happened if you hadn't have held so much light. Like the amount of work that you've done for, you know, over the last like, you know, almost 30 something years as well. It just, you don't sort of hold that much light without a few little demonic things trying to poke at it.
Yeah.
And also, you know, we've seen David Icke go through that too, the amount of the cancel culture side of things. And we now see how much more of a following he even has after going through that fire. So, you know, fingers crossed that we just have, and we're all going to hold you in that love and protection. But yeah, I just see it's to do with the beautiful work that you're doing. And that's what I think shines louder than the other noise in the background from anything sort of parasitic that could be trying to, you know, bring things down. But yeah, speaking of the woo, my dream last night, it was so interesting. In my dream, there was, I'll try and sort of frame it as best as I can. But I remember consciously being there in my dream, in my sleep, and being awake within the dream. There was an entity projected that was like a hologram, and I don't mean a bad entity, but it was like a holographic version of, I think it was myself with a baby. It was really bizarre, but I'm like, it was projected to me as kind of like a memory or an identity or a persona. Yet I felt this fake kind of nanobot synthetic side to it. And what I saw was the accumulation of this identity was built up of little nanobots. And I saw that it was trying to get me to accept or interact with this this being or this persona. And in my dream, it was just like Neo in the Matrix. I'm like, this is not even real. This is AI. And it's actually being fed from all the data that we're inputting into, you know, the computer. Now, what I don't want to scare people with is like for probably about like the last year, just in, you know, quite not online groups, but I've been talking about just with, you know, friends that are awake and close about like the nano side and about all the things that are being sprayed and things like that, and how they can directly actually tap into your consciousness, tap into your thoughts. They can even feed you ads, you know, on this thing. So I don't know if some of you guys have experienced pop-up ads of things that you've only thought about but not spoken about. But this is all part of this infiltration with a lot of the stuff that we're not consciously choosing to have around us, but it's being put into our environment. So I do feel that there's a upgrade in the technology and the way that it now wants to connect with our consciousness. So I just want everyone to, the message from the dream was to be totally aware of synthetic consciousness and synthetic projections of characters. It's like the woman in the red dress in the Matrix, but you'll feel it because it's so synthetic.
Oh, yes, and definitely happening in the astral realms. And I did read the other day that Dan Andrews, who I don't think is the Premier anymore of Victoria,
No.
but he has disclosed that they now have technology that is picking up on thought frequencies. Now, many of us have been saying this for a while, so they're now getting out in front of the narrative, having to disclose it. Yeah, that in fact is absolutely true. Yes, love David Icke, me too, and we'll come back to talking about David Icke and what we go through, those of us who get targeted and censored. But yeah, that definitely when it comes to the dream space, I'm so glad that you brought this up, Solreta, because this is what's happening. So for people like you and I, Solreta, who've been consciousness teachers for a long time, I've been training healers for over 20 years. Part of the work that we do is to connect with deities, is to connect with the angels, is to connect with ascended masters. This is how we live in a multidimensional way. This is how we've always sourced higher wisdom and had our own personal intuition, our inner tuition, our inner training, so that we're relying on our third eye consciousness, not just always researching. You know, it becomes a very pure stream of information that's relevant to ourselves and our own soul journey. But this infiltration now, where even in meditation, especially in sleep, in dream state, these deities are coming in as AI. So they're using some sort of projected screen technology where it seems like we may be talking to Mother Mary, and then the frequency's off. It's not the same frequency. And for people who are new to their healers training or their light worker training, always tune into feeling as opposed to even what you're seeing now in the third eye. Now, this is getting really crazy because, of course, we want to develop the third eye. Of course, we want to develop inner vision. But if there's not a frequency feeling as well as a gut instinct, I would say it has to be the Trinity effect, you know, third eye, heart, gut. And for those who are more developed in their consciousness training, obviously the 7 main chakras, and then go deeper into the galactic chakras if you're moving into those levels. But feel everything. It doesn't feel like Mother Mary coming through, because she's, to me anyway, she's got the most divine, motherly, kind energy. She'll pull you up on your stuff. She can trigger you because you're like, hey, I might need to work on this. Come on. You guys involved there. But that's different to some, you know, weird lookalike that actually is wanting to harvest your energy. So I don't know, Solreta. I don't know what we're going through. I would never have thought we would have lived through this, but it's very real. You're not the only one reporting on it. There's other, because we're obviously in circles of some of the world's top psychics.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of like, yeah, something's up. So be on your guard. Ask questions like, are you in service to self or are you in service to the all? Because if a being is in service to the all, and they must disclose, you start asking questions, they must tell you the truth. Don't just take it on gospel what they're feeding you with. And if they're telling you to put someone else down or call out someone, you can guarantee that that's a nefarious force coming through, or getting you to. And I'll go here because what's happened to me, Solreta, a couple of times in the dream state is the negative reptilian. And because there are beautiful reptilians, we talk about the dragon consciousness and Alpha Draconis. We can't throw them all under the bus, but the ones basically parasiting here on Earth and just trying to be seen and heard and worshipped, they come in with a very strong lower chakra sexual force. And I've had a couple of dreams, there's going to be too much information, a couple of dreams where they've been trying to interact with me sexually, and I've shifted into lucid dreaming, and I said, get out, bugger off, get out of here. And what they will do is they will want to cause you to have an orgasm in your sleep, because that's louche. When they get that pulse, and it's not a divine union sexual energy that moves upwards through the chakras and the kundalini rising, it gets leached out of your, not only your spinal kundalini, but for women in particular, out of their womb. Their womb space is their creative portal. So be aware, because even though it might feel good and you wake up, oh, where did that come from? If it's a nefarious force, you want to quickly build your kundalini back up and tell those forces to get out of it. So, yeah.
I'm so grateful you mentioned about discernment. That's the one thing, I've been going on about for years, and you have too, is, I always check in. Do you love me unconditionally? Are you here for my best and highest good? And there's that universal law that, shamanically, you're best to ask 3 times, because anything that's not of the light. And it's funny because it's not, I remember when I was a kid, and it can be intimidating when you see something like this. But when you realize that you're actually a sovereign being, you have that empowerment. When you ask, it's more that they fade to the background or sort of start to shrink down or kind of go and move backwards. They don't sort of turn into this big scary thing most of the time. So yeah, you guys have the control, you have the power, you are the sovereign beings. And yeah, it's just, like you said, like who would have thought that we would have been living through this craziness? And all I can liken the dream to last night was when we were having a lot of the severe lockdowns here in Melbourne, and I was doing grocery shopping, and my best friends were incidentally doing grocery shopping at the same time. And then we incidentally had lunch at the same place at the same time, as you do. But yeah, what I noticed was, because we were on strict lockdown, so you're not meant to meet up or anything like that. But if you're shopping at the same place, that can't be helped.
That's right.
What we noticed, we all got that voice to skull technology, even though we're all awake, but it was so apparent that it wasn't coming from us. The thoughts projected were not of what our normal natural consciousness would be. And I think at the moment it's still in the learning phase, a lot of the synthetic technology. So I'm glad that we're talking about some of the darker things to look out for, because not everything is love and light, as you and I know. And I do like to focus on the positive and focus on what we can do, but I think we all need to have a lot of protection and a lot of our firewall up a little bit more at the moment, because it does feel like that we're perhaps about to step into something different. I just haven't seen something like this pop up for a little while, so it's going to be interesting to see what rolls out in the 3D.
Very important. And this is, for me, when I talk about being in Vanuatu, where none of this technology is, that's when you really notice the difference when you come back into the city areas. And it takes me a long time to put the guards up. I've got a shield. And to begin with, when I step back into the city, I just want to get out. And then I go, no. Guides will tell me, you're not from Vanuatu, Carrie, you're Australian. So you go to Vanuatu and you bring the codes back. That's my role. Bring the codes back, bring the codes back, bring the codes back. It's not about running away. It's not about escapism, but definitely can feel the difference. And that voice to skull technology must be spoken about, because particularly they will infiltrate people who are having a rough time of life, and they'll come in and say, kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself. You're not worth it. You're useless. You're not enough. Nobody likes you. People are ridiculing you. People are laughing about you. If you're getting those kind of thoughts come in, you tell it to bugger off. They're not my thoughts. I have no interest in this. You move back into an affirmative state. I am love. I am enough. I am aligned to the divine frequency. I am divine love. I'm in allegiance with God, Goddess, and all that is. And you command your space. And in a way, where consciousness is at, it had to come down to this, because I'm the kind of person who will never play victim. I will always say, this is my construct. I created this to practice my own spiritual prowess, to develop my own spiritual technology. And so that's what it's about. And so when you become the commander of reality, and you know that you even attracted the nefarious force, you are the one that is in command of it. It can't really get you. If you play victim to it, of course, it's going to run over you all day, every day. And of course, it's taken many people out of the game. And that's a tragedy to me. Even though there's no death, those souls will come back and have another go at this. But anyone who's on Earth at the moment, pat yourself on the back, because this is like level 10 of the galactic game right now. This is coming to the end of a galactic cycle. This is about, the law of one talks about it, and they do use the word harvest, but I have to put a caveat around that, because we're talking about Lucian soul harvesting. When they say harvest, what they mean in this sense is at the end of a galactic cycle, it's all of the lifetimes add up, where if you've continued to be that narcissist and you thought you got away with it in certain lifetimes, and the next lifetime you've come back in with that sense, yeah, if I lie and manipulate, play people off against each other, yeah, you know, I can keep growing in notoriety, and I'll shut down the heart center and I'll overdevelop the mental faculties because I'm strategic and I'm so clever. Okay, let you get away with it, Boom, you come to the end of the galactic cycle. It's like, off you go to the Tadpole Galaxy, which is like an infancy stage. It's a real galaxy. It's called the Tadpole Galaxy for a reason. It's going back to infancy stage. It's like the tadpole's like one half of the yin-yang symbol.
Yeah.
It's reverting to the part of you that's so polarized, that hasn't unified within self and then chosen to unify with others. So you go back and you regress and you go into your own hall of mirrors and you face your own reflection. And I wouldn't choose that. I'm just saying, people are choosing it every day. Like, come on now, are you that? And I say this with love. Are you that dense in consciousness that you can't see what you're doing to yourself?
Yeah.
You're harming yourself ultimately. But then also you're coming to the end of the galactic cycle for the good souls, the people that, yeah, they get beaten down, but they get back up still with a heart full of love, They're the ones that are moving into that more loving, refined frequency bandwidth. And then, as I said before, there's some very powerful souls here who dialed their very heightened consciousness. They've reached in previous incarnations, they've transcended the false matrix already, reached very high galactic consciousness, high dimensional, could be ninth dimensional, even higher, chosen when Earth called, Mama Gaia called, chosen to dial their frequency back down to help the planetary system. You know, imagine like this ninth dimensional goddess that Solreta would have been even higher, going, right, I've got to squeeze that consciousness down into this body.
Oh, you're so sweet. That's how I see you.
Like, everyone's weird. Like, come on now.
It's so funny. I was sitting here thinking, like, that's you, because, you know, I've read for you as well and done your aura drawing, and I was just thinking about, like, just the beautiful soul that you are, and, you know, choosing to come here, and, you know, you're not doing it half-assed at all, as we say over here in Australia. You know, you've put yourself out there and you've done it worldwide, and you've been such a beautiful light to so many students and to, you know, helping these beautiful people to carry that light further forward. So it's really interesting we're talking about this on, you know, around that solstice full moon energy, because over here in winter, it's about carrying that light or remembering that spark that we have within. And I think that's truly what you embody in that beautiful goddess energy too. We did have another question I saw that was really related to what we're talking about today. And Carrie and I really work so much like to do with like where we're led and where we're guided. So we kind of have a loose feel or a title for the show when we chat together, but it all just like, we're just channeling, we're just freestyling as this comes out with you guys. But yeah, I saw Christian said, is Saturn messing with us?
I'd love to. Thank you for this great question. Because
and thank you, Jim, as well, for your tip. That is a beautiful, beautiful tip, and based on Jupiter and the girls, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
That's so lovely.
Yeah.
Yes, Saturn. What's going on, Christian? Is you're absolutely, you know, tuned in to even know to ask that question. So the rings of Saturn in particular act as, if you can imagine, like them as discs playing a certain frequency. So you put your CD, remember the old CDs we used to use? You put on Spotify, you put your CD in and it plays a certain tune, it plays a certain frequency. And the frequency had been set in a distorted sense. It had been moved to 440 hertz. So this is a wavelength that comes in and continues to hold us within a certain frequency bandwidth, and we call it for generic purposes the false matrix. But you guys might have a different term that you normally use on your show here. This is why it's often seen that Earth is a prison planet. Of course, Earth herself, Gaia herself, is the most majestic, beautiful jewel in the Milky Way galaxy. But she's been targeted because of her beauty and because of her deep feminine essence. And we've seen that playing out in this galactic cycle with the patriarchy really thinking that they were the dominant force. So it's all storylines that play out again and again. So Saturn, the rings in particular, were set to move off the moon energy. There's a lot of conjecture if the moon is evil or not. I see the moon as just so beautiful, but she's an amplifier of energy. So when she is misused, again, another divine feminine frequency, she's misused to amplify this 440 hertz. We should be set at 432 hertz. That's our natural organic state. That's where our body is vibrating at. And you can get into, and Solreta, you know more about this than me, but you can get into different tones and beats that will reset your own frequency. And to play those tones and beats, for me as a yogi, we do chants. That brings us back into alignment. So even within the false matrix, the toxic soup of the 440 hertz, you can reset yourself to 432 hertz. But I actually have worked with an astral group, and we've gone in, had a look at Saturn and reset the discs to the 432 hertz. But then there's backup programs that these nefarious forces use. So you've got to keep going, cycling back around, have a look what's going on. All right. Don't ever forget, for anyone listening that's starting to do astral work, you guys are the ground crew. You're very, very powerful. What you command as true loving beings outranks what any of the nefarious beings are commanding. You've just got to remember to use your powers. Loving quotient that you're carrying is always far more exponential than anyone with that density or low consciousness, nefarious frequency. And in fact, David Hawkins, if you read Power versus Force, and he was an enlightened master, but a scientist as well. And he did a series of studies, and he showed that one enlightened master, someone who reaches enlightenment consciousness, counterbalances the negative frequency of 70 million others. Wow. So if you've got a loving heart, you go for it, guys. You get out there and you command realities, because that's your job here as ground crew.
Oh, you just said really, there's a beautiful energy. It's not just the words that you say, but it's the energy that's so enchanting and uplifting. I love it, because we don't just get like a question on a verbal level from you. It's like you really pick up and embody that energy. And I've seen a few people saying they love your sense of humor and things too. So
awesome.
And that's also shifting and uplifting the frequency. With the Saturn thing as well, we're in an interesting astrological time for, I forget the timeline on it. I know we've got Capricorn full moon, and then the next one is going to be a Capricorn full moon too. So we're really, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. But I did hear that karmically, watch out for people that you've been in cycles and patterns with for the next couple of months. And that would make sense if we're looking at Saturn to do with all of this. So it's saying, if an ex reaches out to you or things like that, be careful if you're dreaming about certain people or things. It doesn't mean it's a sign necessarily to reach out or to rekindle anything. It could actually be that you're going to get pulled back into that karmic loop. So I think that's really interesting in regards to Saturn as well. So watch out if you're dreaming about people, or if they're reaching out to you in the physical. Is that something you want to entangle yourself with for another 8 years?
Wow. Do you know, I dreamt about my first boyfriend from primary school last night. So I'm like, how does she know?
Maybe don't text. It was funny. I had one reach out a couple of weeks ago too, and I'm like, I felt them around before they text me. So it is really, it's so interesting, because it's just upping our game in terms of intuition and things as well. But one of the questions I did have written down was around you guys doing like the astral missions and things, because I know our beautiful Mason Jupiter soul family would really love to hear about you guys actually going into that dream realm together, and sort of like, can you explain how you guys did that process?
Yeah, absolutely. And timing's really interesting, because just last night on my Facebook, I disclosed something that I have not for a couple of years. I've been sitting on it because I was asked at the time not to say anything at all. And then I thought, no, I feel like enough time has gone by, and I'm going to. announce this, more so because there's been a lot of people lately poo-pooing the psychics and questioning, saying we're woo-woo. People that had awakened within 2020 are now seemingly going back to sleep because they feel like this is the reverse psychology that happens. They awoke, or they were awakened, and now they're like, oh, I was caught in a psyop. No, you were not caught in a psyop. That awakening was real. Keep going with it. This is this voice to skull technology that Solreta's talking about. And then they get in their forums together because, unfortunately, for many people, they're impatient and they want things to happen very, very quickly to prove that it was real, rather than trusting the cosmic metronome. There's galactic cycles, there's storylines that need to play themselves out. We need to keep cleaning up the dross within self. We need to keep balancing our own karma. I don't see karma as a negative thing. I just see it as Lady Justice coming in. Let's just balance this. So you're going to have to clear up some of your crap. Let's just be honest. That's okay. Make peace with it. Get on with it. Know that you're a good soul, even if you did something crazy in the past and you're still cringing about it. Just go, okay, I'll balance that now and keep going forward. So there's been the attacks that are going on for the psychics, the yogis. It's across the board. Anyone who does Reiki, it's this, it's that. It's like, come on, we're not demonic, we're not satanic. It's very unfair what's going on. So I decided, all right, I'm going to explain to the public that myself, my partner, and some of our astral group team, was a formalized group that a couple of years ago were doing specific missions. We were asked actually to be part of a space program here in Australia because we were so good at remote viewing, and we had intercepted a couple of years ago when CERN was wanting really to create, through their what is it? The collider, the Hadron Collider. They spin this thing. They understand centrifugal force because that's really where a spiral energy. If you look at galaxies, they can only mimic and hijack off the real cosmic technology. And so they were trying to open a false portal. This is real. If anyone thinks I'm being woo-woo right now, this is absolutely real.
Great audience. I'm sure everyone is just soaking this up, loving it, and just having a depth of a conversation that just, it's making my day.
I'm just so relieved to be here with an audience like this because we've been up against it a little bit. So it's just nice to speak, to be honest.
Oh, look, and we've even got, so Tim's commenting, CERN portal of creation facility.
Very aware people here, very aware. They're keeping the balance between the galactic and some of these nefarious processes that are going on. So, and if anyone's not sure, just watch the movie Angels and Demons. It's a full propaganda movie, but you will get specific codes out of it as to the way CERN does work. So our group had gone in, and we actually had a scientist who was interested in the work that we were doing from other missions. Our captain used to put up videos about what we were doing. I didn't speak out so much publicly about it. I think I have with you before, Solreta, in a show. Yeah. And so we were attracting a bit of attention. And so this scientist said, all right, I'm going to sit in with you in real time. And he monitored what we were doing as well as what was going on with CERN. And what we were saying was going on. Now, we weren't viewing what was happening with CERN. He was. He had a way to get inside information. And after that, we did get asked to come and be part of a space program working as psychics. But I was like, absolutely no, I will not do it, because you don't know who you're working for, really. And I'm not interested in my psychic powers. Darling, we have to talk about avians because there's so many birds behind you.
I know. So one plane as you were talking about that.
Oh, it's getting crazy.
There's a couple
I said absolutely no. Yeah, I wasn't going to have my psychic abilities used for, they call it a space program, but it really would be funded by the government. So, but, I decided I'm going to stake my claim because I'm sick of everyone casting us away, because governments as well as police force will use psychics. They absolutely will. So this is not woo-woo at all. Psychics are of great benefit, particularly for police forces. If they can't solve a crime, they'll often turn to a psychic, and they may not disclose it, but that psychic often solves the riddle, and can find bodies and all sorts of things, not to bring it into the grimy energy. But I just need to let people know that psychics are very, very much needed in many different arenas. Yeah, so I don't do the formal missions anymore. Mainly Chris and I, my partner, do missions together when we're called to. But every night I'm woken up, or every mid-morning I'm woken up at 3 a.m. Galactic hour! Like,
It
come
is the
on.
Galactic hour.
It's like, who's there? What do you want? Come on, let's go and do something. And I love it, sorry. It's so much fun to me. And then I'll
Yeah.
go back to sleep afterwards. But usually I'm awake for 1 to 2 hours doing some kind of process and supporting more the planetary grids, or going for a ride on Pegasus or wherever we're going.
Yeah. Your aura is changing color, like, as you're talking about this. You can just see, like, the amount of beautiful energy that you emit talking about this. So it's really, and it's all green and gold. It's all heart-centered with a bit of violet. So it's just, yeah, you're fulfilling your purpose on that astral level too. Which, it's 2 jobs in one. It's to do it down here on the 3D Earth, which you're doing, but you're also doing it in the other realms at the same time, which a lot of our gorgeous clients here and the audience, I see it in their auras too. They're doing really active astral missions. So it's so nice to have someone as a public representative to be able to talk about it, and so everyone individually knows that they're not alone. That a lot of us are doing these missions together, and so many. I saw someone else mention about timelines and things. Oh, here it is. So Lorianne was saying timelines are so fluid and unpredictable right now. Are you experiencing different dreams of where you're living in different realities or different timelines too?
Absolutely. And I do just want to also say, for the people that are dreaming, like vivid dreaming, that is astral, can be very much astral mission work as well. And I'm noticing a lot of people vivid dreams, and then they're waking up within the dream and they're lucid dreaming, and then you'll go all the way through to consciously, and it's just really like a meditation, but you're consciously going into the astral planes. I think you've done shows before, Solreta, on astral travel. So
Yeah,
just
with
wanted
Greg.
to just
Greg
say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just learning to do it consciously whilst awake. So just so people know they are doing it. Many people as ground crew are doing it in their sleep, waking up, even a little bit sore sometimes. Like even the physical seems to be taking some of the impact. More so for the warrior crew that are here, that go in and do more combat missions, because they will literally take out some of these AI programs in the astral realms. But yeah, in terms of the question, the great question about the timelines, it's fascinating because you can go into any timeline, any era, and this sense of, I think a common term is timeline reversals. So I don't necessarily use that term myself, but I understand what it means, and it may be a common term that people are coming across. So I wrote our healers course over 20 years ago. I'm like, I'm not like hit to the groove anymore. Like, what are the latest terms? So sometimes people are like, she's like a grandma. Like, what are you talking about? Timeline reversals. And I'll tell you one really powerful, really, really powerful. Hi, Amber. That's beautiful. Which was, I was taken, again, galactic hour, woken up, and I'm in that half asleep, half awake stage, and I'll just go on a journey. I don't question my imaginative third eye portal. If I'm meant to be taken somewhere, I'll check the energies, ask questions, but if it feels good, go with it. But I was taken all the way back to a very ancient Hawaiian tribe, and I spoke to the chief there of this tribe. It was so fascinating to me, Solreta, because he was showing me that they got it wrong way back, and I don't know how long ago it was. It was very primitive. It was around the time we were doing all these activations with Lemuria. And he was showing me that one of their tribe members had really gone astray, and he was having relations with an underage girl, and he got pulled out in front of the tribe. And it was the tribe had functioned very harmoniously, and there hadn't been any hiccups up to this point. So we're talking very early civilizations of Lemuria. They decided, or the chief decided, to behead this particular tribal member because it was so heinous what he'd done, and they didn't know what to do with it. They were all in shock, and it had created a dark spirit in this individual that was beheaded. And I was shown that it set up a timeline that created the narcissistic timeline, because narcissists often just need love. Even though I need to preface this by saying, you try to love a narcissist, it doesn't really work. But if you look deeper and deeper into their psychology, they are needing love. They're needing to be seen and heard. They're lacking in something. This is why they put on all of these grandiose performances and delusions of grandeur and tell you how great they are and control everyone. So I was shown this timeline of how it created this narcissistic timeline, because this tribal member was not integrated back into the tribe. They were just exiled, banished, cast aside. And so we did a whole timeline reversal, which was to go back, bring this individual, put him in front of the tribe. I was told to use, I think it's called Ubuntu. This is what I was told. I had to go look it up. And it's an African tribal process where if someone's done the wrong thing, before they get their penance, they sit in the center of the circle of the tribe, and the tribe tells them everything they love about them.
Yeah.
You've got to use love first, then they get their penance. So this is what we did. And then this particular tribal member decided what he'd done was so wrong, but he felt loved by the tribe, and he actually went and drowned himself. So he took himself out of the game, but he died not with a dark spirit. He died by his own hand. He chose that, I went astray, I'm going to take myself out of the game, as opposed to what had happened where he was exiled. So I hope that, it's a big story, but I hope that makes sense to people, that there's a lot of things going on in previous timelines that are being corrected, so to speak, because we could understand what the ancient Hawaiian chief did and why he did it. But he was admitting to me, I was so shocked, I was crying within this particular journey. He was admitting to me, no, we got it wrong. We don't do that to our own. There was a better way to handle this. And it felt like a big upgrade in consciousness in general for the collective. And we're talking ancient timelines. So, yeah maybe these narcissists can pull themselves into line like this particular individual.
Yeah. And I think it's so important because, especially with our beautiful soul family as well, there's a lot of, what I would say is not just empaths, we have extreme empaths as well, which are really holding so much for, not just for the people around them, but like, the collective, and even someone universally too. And we tend to see that there's the narcissistic, empath dance, or there's certain personality types that the narcissist will get drawn to. And I'm so proud of, a lot of empaths at the moment, because they've really drawn the line. They're really learning to find their voice, to get firm, to get sort of strong, and to really assert themselves. And that's part of finishing off some of this earthly, karmic loop that we've been stuck in. But the main message I've had from Spirit all week so far in readings, they keep showing me scales. And I keep seeing it's like we're so driven and focused on like future outcome. So I'm so glad that you're talking about like correcting past timelines, because Spirit's really been showing, we're so like got the blinkers on, got the blinders on to focus on what we can do to get to this point. But what we need to do is actually focus on the healing, and we'll naturally arrive in this timeline of where we kind of attract, or we magnetically draw all the things that we're wanting. So it's to look at what's the underneath healing behind what it is that we desire or want. So whether it's love, it might be that we actually need to focus and give ourselves more love first, or more, self-worth work, or self-confidence. Or if it's perhaps, say to do with career, or to do with, work, about being worthy and deserving, or about like releasing karmic things around being seen. So if we're doing that healing work, we're organically going to shift in alignment or self-identity and gravitate more towards this timeline. But I've been thinking about that same thing around like tweaking different things from past, or, like in NLP and hypnotherapy and things, we can go back and plant a different seed memory, or our brain, the reticular activating system, remembers things differently So if you can plant a memory, it will think that it's always been that way. So we can like recreate even things to do with the last craziness of the last 5 years and start to reconstruct that a bit and go, you know what, actually it did bring more awake people to be connected a lot more than ever. So there's positive things in it.
Oh, I love that. That's so well. It's so well said, Solreta. That's exactly what's going on. And if unless we're doing our inner work at the moment, and unless we're taking responsibility for everything that we've created, then we do stay stuck in these consciousness loops. And when I say loops, consciousness can either, it's a spiral, can either spiral you progressively up, if you like, up, climbing up the spiritual mountain, or it can spiral you down. And there's no right or wrong, because sometimes you spiral down and check yourself and then, okay, start moving in a different direction. And this is only using human language as well. There's really no up, down, right, wrong, good, bad. But we have a sense, we need to use human language to have a sense of where we're actually going and expanding consciousness. And yes, we must take responsibility and do those timeline tweaks within ourselves, even if it's like what I was shown, it's representative. And I could see myself as the little girl because I've had abuse in my childhood. So I was the little girl and I could see, okay, we don't have to demonize these people that even the predators, and these are big spaces to hold, because yes, of course they got it wrong, of course they did the wrong thing, but they were lost too. And where can we make sure that they balance their own scale? As you said, they must balance the scale, they have to, that's universal law. But where can we also know that they're a soul, and they're playing a certain role in our lives to activate our consciousness as well? And so this is where we have to go multidimensional sometimes to understand why there are certain players here, if you like, in the 3D, having certain functions in our life. I know that I got set up because of my abuse into being a real people pleaser. And this last round, and I would call it abuse, even though it's been happening online, it's abuse.
Yeah.
And I'm aware, when you spoke about the empath, that empath in me had to upgrade. Why was I constantly trying to love and light things away? Why wasn't I holding my ground and saying, how dare you, you will not, and taking my power? Why was I always trying to make, see that, oh, the poor lost broken little boy or girl in someone else, putting them before for my own, broken little girl? And so these things happen, and they feel very unfair in the moment, but they initiate a response for you to go deeper into your own healing and to keep exploring where you're leaking energy. And wherever you're leaking energy, because where consciousness is at the moment, we're getting very severely tested. They're those portal hook-in points for these nefarious forces. So, we've got to keep clearing the trauma within self. It's not necessarily easy. And sometimes you're laying in bed for days on end crying your eyes out. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Go with it, go with what you're guided to do. You don't have to be happy, bright spark, like just because you're spiritual. You don't have to be that all the time. Be authentic, be real.
And they say that it's some of the brightest souls that, can walk through that darkness and still hold that love and that peace and things as well. But yeah, if we're looking at it as a mirror to, if you've got those sort of narcissistic situations going on, and it's interesting because the astrology matches up. I know when Julie's done my chart as well, she's like, this is a really interesting combination of planets. Have you had this, and this happen? And some of the things I had happen in terms of like the dance, the narcissist with the people pleaser, because like I'm a lot softer, it was showing me to come into this kind of like, goddess kind of like warrior mode, which perhaps didn't feel comfortable, but it's part of what I actually need for the mission to continue to be a container to hold this light. Because if you keep getting kind of beaten down by things that are going to, try and erode your character personality, you're not going to get to the finish line with the same kind of like beacon or lantern as well. And I think that, even though you and I've been through some harder times, we've not dimmed our light. And, I don't think anything that can happen would cause us to erode and to not be shining this light. There was another question. I know we're sort of getting to the end of our show. I saw Tim said, question, former line by Christian. He's referring to the other question. But what do you think of the Council of Nine?
It depends. I mainly know the Nine through Magenta Pixie. However, so I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but for me, and I'm going to quote more my partner Chris, who's very galactic as well. He always says that the nine are the 9 planetary spheres within the Milky Way galaxy. He believes that's the consciousness, the collective consciousness that we're all a part of. So we're talking about the planetary spheres and their own councils, I guess, or their own collectives that merge together into one frequency that is a conductor of this galaxy. So I don't know if that answers your question or if that's not exactly where you were going, but that's how I see the 9. That's how I interpret the 9.
I think that's a really interesting answer too. And sometimes, like when I'm seeing the Council of Nine, I've seen Council of Seven, Council of Nine sometimes show up in certain readings, but you always want to check in because sometimes there's fault light. I just want to put that preface there. There's false light council too. So you always just check in. Do you love me unconditionally? And sometimes they might even appear as just columns or pillars of light. They might have, like a shape to them and things. But I hadn't heard that with the planetary side of things, like what you were talking about with Chris. That makes sense too.
Yeah, and I feel, you can look into science for this sooner or later, 40 billion years, but time is nothing. Milky Way galaxy and Andromedan galaxy will collide. And I've done a lot of journaling around those two galaxies actually being twin flames. So these storylines will play out in the macrocosm as they do in the microcosm. Now, twin flame is a very hijacked term. So I know we don't have time today, but twin flaming essentially happens within self first. It's your Kundalini forces, your Ida and Pingala nadis, or your Eros Gamos, however you want to term that. It's your masculine, feminine, God, goddess self that unifies within. Solreta was talking about the scales, yin yang. It's all there. It's a balance of self. Then there'll be a counterpart once you've risen to a certain consciousness. There'll be a counterpart that will come really as a divine reward that will show up in the physical, who is termed your divine complement, your tonal counterpart, your twin flame. I'm not the person that's going to say get a twin flame reading every other week, even though I know I'm amongst the best readers here. These are mature readers here that if you're having a reading with Solreta and any of the other ladies, they're very mature. So, yes, they could do you a twin flame reading. But what I mean is that there's certain, and God love them because I know that they're just trying to point to what's really going on. There's certain just token kind of twin flame stuff out there, which is not really what the truth of twin flaming is about. If it doesn't start within self first, you're really, thinking that anyone could be a twin flame out there. And it's almost like an obsession or an addiction to false romance.
And external, it's the scales again.
Yes, absolutely. So Milky Way and Andromeda. So for me, the 9 is that consciousness that's preparing to go beyond 9th dimensional consciousness. So anyone, when I was talking, if we cycle back to what I was talking about at the beginning, for those very enlightened beings that are here helping the planetary system upgrade, they're going intergalactic. Intergalactic is very, very powerful. This is their opportunity as they fulfill their mission to get a permanent place in above 9D consciousness. So we're talking getting into 10, 11, 12D consciousness, very refined light body ethereal selves that command big spaces within the galaxies. But hey, that's getting way out there, Solreta.
I love that. And I can see we've got beautiful Julie here as well, who runs Mace on Jupiter, and she's like, we want a part two. And I can see a lot of people in agreement. I also want to send love out to Debs, who looks like she lost someone very close to her. So we're just holding you in love and support, Debs. But yeah, everyone has just enjoyed this chat so much. So please come back for a part two. And I would love to, continue to talk more about, I love just how you broke the word galaxies up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never thought about it in that way before. That would be like a whole nother show. Is there anything you want to share with the audience before I pop up your website and things? Is there anything that Spirit is kind of encouraging you to speak about?
A couple of things. I need to just reference the avians because they've been around you the whole time. Just be aware of the hijacking of the true galactic codes, which is the avians are here to help us. Talk to the birds. A lot of people are noticing that the birds are around them, even flying into their homes, sitting next to them. Make sure you're getting a lot of insights because they're using that avian code and they're flipping it to the bird flu or the avian flu, something to be scared of. No. The avians they're very masterful. They're like a 12D galactic frequency that's helping us.
And did you hear this one go when you started talking about like when you listen to the birds? And one of them, it's hard because I can see people that are flying around the corner. They usually sit up in the trees, and there's one that's sitting just, I don't know if you can see on the concrete. Oh, it's a bit hard. You won't be able to see from the corner. There's one sitting there like this, just like listening to everything that you're saying and watching you. It's hilarious. They're just amazing personalities.
I've never been so close to the birds in all of my days, Solreta. Like they have no fear. Like we had one, he just keeps coming inside and he's like, oh yeah, here I am. And he stares at me like, are you getting it? Are you getting it? I'm like, oh, I'm getting it. I don't know what I'm getting, but I'm getting it.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to hear the same thing. And we were both there at Uluru, December 2020 when Minnie Mace, Auntie Minnie talked about it. And I've talked about this on the other shows, and Stephen and Evan have talked about it. And you're going to be doing the conference. You're going to be at Uluru again, aren't you? Towards that this year?
Yes. Are you coming?
No, not to this one, but I've just come back from Uluru and Katajuda. So they say that there was some kind of a cycle for whatever was happening in 2020 that we're repeating this year. And I just, in my heart of hearts, my partner and I felt drawn to going and just booked it without even really thinking about it. Was supposed to go. And so
I agree with that. We can talk. Yeah. But the other thing that's coming through is just to say for the people that are listening here, I'm just getting a really, really strong knowing that everyone needs to just step it up a little bit more in claiming actually who they are. So if you've been downplaying in your own mind as to who you are, is it possible that I've come from one of these more heightened dimensional frequency fields? And there's no good or bad when it comes to dimensions. They all have their own parameters and their own ways that they need to play themselves out. So 3D is not worse than 12D. However, if you have transcended in a previous timeline to do a very refined frequency and you're holding great levels of love, just know how powerful that is. If you're a loving being and it's as simple as you're just loving to strangers, you're loving to the person who's putting your groceries through at the corner store, you are love. You don't have to do anything massive. Like you are just love. Wherever you are love. Please know that you are so powerful and so needed, and the work that you're doing here is the way it's rippling out through your frequency field is beyond words. So claim who you are. Claim who you are. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a powerful, beautiful message. And it's reminding me of looking into your chart. If you guys have had your chart done with Julie, check out where you've got your Venus sitting as well, because this is the way that it will be, that people will recognize, or you'll sort of be acknowledged for the way that you shine and bring this love through. And this just makes me want to get into a chat, maybe when we're off air in a second. I'm going to ask you more about your chart. But I do want to show people what you have here, because you have, I know that like we're very we're an international mix here in terms of the audience all over the world. And you do have courses and things as well. And I love this pose. I had to show this gorgeous yoga pose that you're holding here. You just blow my mind with the energy, and just, you can see it. Everything's just flowing. It's beautiful. So yeah, you'll be able to find out more information about the series that you've got on the Iconic Network. You've got your shop on here. And oh, there's Chris with the bowls as well, and testimonies. There's just so much. But yeah, please check out. You can see there's pregnancy courses, there's ones for kids. If you guys are interested in yoga teacher training, things like that, Carrie Ann has everything on here. But yeah, remember, we have the 25% discount code with Glow Up. So just enter Glow Up when you're going through, and 10% off when you use the Glow Up code to go and purchase the book that we have. And we have the smoothie challenge. So that's going to start on Monday, so June 24th to the 30th. So we're going to be making a smoothie every single day. My partner has said that he will be joining us with that, not face on camera, but he's going to join the challenge. So yeah, we're all looking forward to this, and we're going to be posting some photos in the community. So you guys, we would love for you to come and join the community as well. And also, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe. And what were you going to say, Carrie? I think I might have cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah, just when you're on the courses, there's a really low price point astral travel masterclass there, because most of the courses are full practitioner courses. They're long, big year-long courses. But if anyone is looking just to get more into learning, it's super cheap. Well, it doesn't say the price there, but I think it's, oh, there you go, 33.
Oh, a nice number. And as we said, we're claiming back the master numbers.
Oh, can we? Everyone's been on us for this and that. It's like, come on now.
No, we're claiming all the master numbers back. So yeah,
the hijack terms.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for mentioning that, because that'd be such a fun course.
Yeah, well, that's probably more in line, unless someone does want to be a full healer or yoga teacher. But honestly, Solreta, I'm just happy to come on and chat to you, because you're such a goddess, and the energy coming off the people that are listening is just, it's so relaxing to actually being here with this tribe. Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, we just have such a gorgeous collective, and we're just popping up now the link for those of you guys that might have missed. We're just waiting for the internet. It's a little bit slow. There we go.
Oh,
so you might want to screenshot this and go and type it in. But if you go on to My Health Yoga, you'll see it in the online courses section as well. But yeah, thank you so much, my gorgeous soul sister. It has just been so much fun, and I could chat with you all day. It's always the best. So yeah, we'll have to have you back on for part 2. And thank you to our audience for joining us tonight.